Hey there, boys and girls. Lady Silver Vixen here. After watching a series of rather harsh anti-gay videos, um, thank you, Rick Santorum. But that's the only good thing that you're worth, I guess. But anyway, gays in Wicca. A lot of people think this is actually a rather common phenomenon. It's actually something that's growing. Originally, in Wicca, this actually wasn't the case. A lot of the original covens, such as the traditions of Gardnerian and Alexandrian Wicca, didn't actually feel comfortable with this concept. It's only been in the more modern times that this has actually become more of an acceptable practice. I personally have absolutely nothing against it. Like any of my videos, I only speak from experience. I am not gay myself, however, I am a firm supporter of gay rights. I'm a civil rights activist, if you will. Um, but the whole purpose of this video is the things that most people usually forget about or ignore or don't even know about. So I wanted to make this video encompassing not only um, homosexuals, or as some people put it, gays, in Wicca, whether they be male or female, um, or even transgenders in Wicca, as well as just men in general and animals. So to start off with, I would just like to say that anybody of any sexual preference serves a purpose within Wicca. That's my firm belief. That is what I was always taught. Um, that is actually what I feel within my own heart. I don't see any reason to exclude anybody because of a sexual preference. Um, People tell me all the time, oh, well, being gay isn't natural. Actually, it is. There's about 1,500 different species in the animal kingdom that actually are not monogamous. They actually do indulge in homosexual behavior. So to tell me that it's unnatural is to completely ignore the basic facts of nature. I've actually seen this with my own eyes. Dogs, certain birds, fish, the whole nine yards. But the purpose that they serve within Wicca is that they find their path there. They find themselves. They're fully capable of accepting themselves as they are. They're not discriminated against because they choose to love. A man chooses to love another man, or a woman chooses to love another woman. Um, that's not our place to judge them. That's fully within their rights to choose. Um, Being as how Wicca is a religion truly based on free will, I've never seen an issue with this. I would also like to say that I have many homosexual friends. Multitudes of them are actually Wiccans, or they follow another type of pagan path. They find themselves very accepted within the path. And believe it or not, I mean, in most cases, a lot of them actually truly embody the true balance between masculine and feminine. So they're capable of working both aspects. Um, Personally, I find this a huge help, especially when you're in ritual and you have an imbalance of men to women. Um, it sounds kind of terrible, but it actually does aid in ritual when you're trying to have equal balance of men and women for a specific kind of ritual, because the homosexual people that are within the group are capable of embodying both sides, so they can play either side of the field in those cases. Um, it sounds a lot worse than what it is. Nobody please take offense to this. I'm merely stating my personal experience here. Um, I definitely recommend people going and checking out my friend Rainbow Pagan 2. You can actually find him in my subscribers list. He's actually a very dear friend of mine. He's also one of my personal pupils. Um, and I think he's actually come a very long way in his path. He's become more accepting of himself, and I actually learn a lot from him just as much as he learns from me. Um, Moving on to men in general being in Wicca, because most of the time people think, oh well, Wicca, it's a feminism thing. And no, no, no different than in my video, the Lord and the Lady. I actually said that the Lord and the Lady are equals to each other. They are no different than a man and a woman. Okay. Um, in Wicca, there is a very strong push to bring back the sacred feminism. Um, and that's perfectly fine. I understand that. I mean, I am Wiccan and I am a female. Um, However, men can play a very important role, aside from the sexual aspect that most people constantly think of. Um, if you're part of a tradition or if you follow a belief that the Holly King and the Oak King, which I also mentioned in my previous video, the Lord and the Lady, where they have to battle each other and their brothers. Men portray this role very well. They also are very good at portraying the role of the hunter as well as just strength and unity. Um, Men play a very important role in Wicca as well as in the coven. Women are fully capable of defending themselves, and I understand that. Uh, I I am who I am. I can't help it. But men that usually partake in coven, in different covens, will not only take on a role of high priest in order to balance out with the high priestess, because when you're in a coven, there's a lot of times where you will actually have to call down the god. Doing so through a man works a lot better than doing so through a woman in most cases, um, because the energies will line up better. The other positions that many of them take, depending on what you go by, um, a position of Red Guardian is a very good position for most men because they have to deal with protecting the coven, finding safe locations for the coven to practice, communicating with other individuals if they have to rent space, things like that. They will keep protesters at bay, so that way they're not interfering with the coven while they're doing their work. Now, again, this is not meant to offend anybody. This is from my own personal experience. Um, and that's all I can really speak from. I mean, I'm not a man. I can't tell you how influential a man's presence can actually truly be. Um, I've never been in an all women's coven. I've never been in or even seen an all man's coven. So there's that natural duality again that shows up not only in nature, not only in lore, but it's actually a physical presence. Um, and I think that men in Wicca are usually underestimated. They're pushed to the side too often, and they're not given enough credit. Uh, the other thing that I wanted to talk about too, real quick, is animals. Animals in Wicca. Um, Many people will talk about totems. Other people will talk about spirit guides, things along these lines that take on the forms of animals. Perfectly fine and acceptable. What most people forget, though, is that you can actually incorporate your animals into your rituals. I actually posted several pictures on an online group that I'm part of, where my sister's dog is actually in the pictures with me. He absolutely refused to let me meditate, but he just wanted to help. So I incorporated it into what I was doing, and I just did a couple of prayers instead with him sitting right next to me helping me. What triggered my interest in this is I cast a circle, and he walked the circle perfectly before he sat down next to me. And then he decided to get up and sit in my lap like most dogs do, even when they're huge and still think that they're little lap dogs. Go figure. Um, but I actually felt a lot of energy that he was adding to what I was doing. Um, in the pictures, you actually see me smiling. You see the dog in my lap. There's several pictures that actually have authentic orbs, not dust particles. Um, and I actually really enjoyed it. Um, I never thought that I would actually enjoy incorporating an animal into my practices so much, but I've done it with my pet rats before, one of which was actually a familiar of mine, um, and they are fully capable of incorporating their energy with what you're doing. And I think, like I said earlier, a lot of people either forget about this, they ignore it, or they just don't know about it. Um, I really wish I could give you guys some more information on the few things that I've talked about and touched on here, but in all honesty, I really don't have a whole lot of experience because I'm not a man. I don't have a whole lot of experience in incorporating homosexuality into Wicca because I myself am not a homosexual. But they still play an important role in the development and evolution of Wicca. Um, and I just think that in most cases they're extremely underestimated, they're extremely unappreciated, and in a lot of cases they actually go uninvolved. Uh, so remember, you know, it doesn't matter what sexual preference you are, you're welcome in Wicca. It doesn't matter what race you are, what ethnicity you fall into, you're welcome in Wicca. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. You are welcome in Wicca. If you align yourself as a transgender, you're still welcome in Wicca. If you want to incorporate animals into your practices as a Wiccan, you are more than welcome to do so. Animal magic is actually one of the some of the strongest magic that I actually work with, um, since I've actually started picking it up and practicing it. Um, this is still actually a new field of study for me, and I'm working very hard on trying to incorporate my rat Nostradamus into my practices when I sit down to do prayer. He likes to claw a lot, though, so it can be a little distracting. But remember, guys, don't discriminate just because somebody's different from you. Okay, all are welcome in Wicca. We have room for pretty much everybody. Um, the only other thing that I can think to say is that no matter how different you are still always and will be loved by the god and goddess. And I think that's what truly matters in any case. So, blessings, everybody. This is Lady Silver Vixen, and I'm signing out.